Gettysburg did become the bloodiest battle of the entire Civil War because it lasted 3 days. Casualties over 40,000. So, where were the women? The answer is they were everywhere. They were hiding in basements or bravely facing the foe on the battlefield. They were nursing the wounded and burying the dead and going about the business of life. Some women came to town with the armies. There were women who disguised themselves as men and fought with both the Union and the Confederate armies during the war. You didn't have to take your clothes off for anything, not even your enlistment physical, and that's part of how they got away with it. Mary Livermore wrote a book after the war, and she put this in. Someone has stated that the number of women soldiers known to the service as little less than 400. I cannot vouch for the correctness of this estimate, but I am convinced that a larger number of women disguised themselves and enlisted in the service for one cause or another than was dreamed of. Why would they have done it? Money. If your husband went off to war, there's no food stamps, there's no welfare, and women were not educated to support themselves. So it might have been financial. It could have been a love situation. We know some of them went just for the adventure of it. Of those detected, we know that 7 were wounded, 7 were taken in prisoner of war camps, 9 died on battlefields, and at least 6 gave birth to babies. We know that a woman was killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. She was found dead on the west side of the stone wall on Cemetery Ridge. She had participated in Pickett's charge. She was buried with the men of her brigade on July 3rd, and it was when the burial detail found her, is when they found out it was a woman. And we know she was not the only Confederate female there. A wounded soldier from Michigan wrote the following account while recuperating in the hospital. I must tell you that we have a female secesh here. She was wounded at Gettysburg, but our doctors soon found her out. They say she is very good looking, but the poor girl has lost a leg. It is a great pity she did not stay at home with her mother, but she gets good care and kind treatment. And in 1904, the Lancaster Examiner printed an obituary for a woman who read in part, Mrs. Abrev Camus, in 1862, disguised as a man, enlisted as a nurse in the Northern Army under the name of Tommy Camus. Her sex was never discovered. There were also women who came with the Army that were called vivandiers. We stole this concept from the French. They did not attempt to disguise their sex, but those who wore uniforms wore trousers with a skirt over it. I have photographs with me today of Marie Tepe, who was a resident of Philadelphia at the time the war broke out. These women did not serve with the regular army because the restrictions were more severe. They served with the volunteer army. Mary Tepe had been born in France, and she emigrated to America when she was about 15. And she was living in Philadelphia with a tailor by the name of Bernardo when the war broke out. So she fashioned herself a uniform, took up a .44 caliber revolver, and followed him into the war. She quit his regiment after a domestic dispute with Bernardo, and she was then recruited by Charles Collis to serve with Collis's Zouaves, the 114th Pennsylvania. She was wounded at the Battle of Fredericksburg, where she took a ball in her ankle that she carried the remainder of her days. She was under fire in 13 battles, including Gettysburg. And how many of you have ever heard her name?